Good
afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You're welcome to AVA Global Asset Managers webinar today. Please give us a few minutes while we wait for other attendees to join. We'll begin officially by 1:10 p.m. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to AVA Global Asset Managers webinar titled The Power of Compounding, Growing Your Investments. My name is Adenike Balogun, and I'll be your moderator for this webinar. The host company, AVA Global Asset Managers, is a Securities and Exchange Commission licensed asset and portfolio management company that is also a part of AVA Capital Group. Now, AVA Capital Group also has 3 companies that play in the capital market space, namely AVA Capital Partners, which is a full-time investment banking company, AVA Securities, which is our stockbroking and securities trading company, and lastly, AVA Trustees, which is our trusteeship company. The title, once again, of this webinar is The Power of Compounding, Growing Your Investments. We have 2 industry leaders. They are finance experts as our guest speakers today. We have Amin Mohammed and Abiola Hamid. Amin Mohammed has over 9 years experience in investment banking and the finance industry. He is a member of transaction teams providing financial advisory and capital raise services. Our second speaker, Abiola Hamid, is also a finance expert. He is a CFA charter holder, and he's a seasoned finance expert with extensive experience in treasury and capital markets. Abiola has driven significant growth for retail and institutional clients through innovative financial solutions in public and private markets. All right, so jumping right into the webinar of today, The Power of Compounding, our speakers will be engaging us in various concepts and benefits of compounding interest today. So I have a few questions for our speakers today. Abiola, I'll start with you. We've heard a lot about simple interest and interest in investments and the likes. So please, can you run us through the concept of compound interest?
All right, thank you, Adenike. Thanks everyone for joining. So on basic terms, compound interest really means earning interest on interest. I know we are all familiar with our initial investment, earning us some returns on that. So compound interest takes that a layer up, whereby the interest you earn on this your initial investment can earn you even much more interest. So if you take, there's a quote by Albert Einstein who says that compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. We are all familiar with the 7 wonders of the world. The 8 wonders of the world and It says those who understand it, they earn it, and those who don't, they pay it. So it is either you be on either side of the divide. Either you understand what it means and you actually leverage on it to actually fast track or grow, accelerate the growth of your investment, or you actually be on the other receiving side of things. So basically, it means the the returns you earn on an investment can even earn you further returns. So you can see how that can actually fast track or accelerate the growth of the investment portfolio. Thank you, Adenike.
Thank you very much, Abiola. Thank you very much. All right. So for our audience, the purpose of this webinar is to create mass awareness on the benefits of compounding interest. It will also help you and enlighten us on how to grow or maximize your investments over time. All right. So Abiola, speaking on compound interest, simple interest, can you please differentiate between simple interest and compound interest?
Okay, so simple interest basically means, okay, let's say, for example, I invest 1,000 naira in an instrument that earning 10%. So on simple interest side, at the end of the year, a single year tenure, I'll earn 1,000, I will earn 100 naira on that at 10%, right? What I basically I place that money for 5 years. That means every year I earn on 10%, which is 100 naira on that my 1,000 investment. What compound interest will do is at the end of the first year, instead of remaining flat in the case of simple interest, at the end of the third of the second year, I will capitalize my interest. When I say capitalize interest, what does that mean? That means the interest I earn the first year becomes part of my principal for the second year. So the second year, I'm not just starting with 1,000 naira again. I'm going to be starting with 1,000 plus that 100 naira that I earn as the interest in the first year. Therefore, if I then place that same 1,100 in an instrument that earns me 10%, I will not just be earning 100 naira in the second year interest. I'll be earning like something around 100 naira plus another 10 naira, which is the interest on the 100 naira. So that's basically how that grows your interest. So your interest is growing because it's been driven by the growth in your principal.
All right, thank you very much, Abiola. So for people or for our attendees and our audience that are mathematically inclined, can you please give us the step-by-step on how to calculate compound interest?
Okay. Your simple interest is just let's cast our mind back to that high school mathematics that says principal times rate times time. And you can quickly see how that becomes give you a flat interest rate. So a flat interest income you earn on that investment. So the investment is at 10%, you earn 100 naira every year, flat. On the compounding interest side, it is basically your principal. Then then compound the interest on that every year. So remember that arithmetic progression and geometric progression. So your simple interest, the growth in your investment is an arithmetic progression. So it grows by just the interest every year. But for the side, you can see that accelerated growth whereby the interest is being added to your principal. So your principal doesn't just stay flat at 1,000, like the case I said earlier. Please, if you're not speaking, can you mute? Okay. So you are not just flat at 1,000 principal over the tenure of your investment. There's additional interest that's been capitalized. Capitalized means it's been added to your starting principal. So your principal doesn't just stay at 1,000. Then you have additional 100 in the first year. Then additional 110 in the second year, and so on and so forth. So that's where that difference comes in. And also, two things are very important for compound interest. One, the interest on interest that we have talked about, we've discussed. Then the benefit of time. And you can quickly see the difference between those two if we have a model that shows how your money grow on the simple interest side and the compound interest side. The benefit of time shows that wide disparity in what the terminal value or the end of period value of your investment if you are running through simple interest model and the compound interest model. Time and the interest on interest. So those are the two differentiating factors for compound interest case.
Thank you very much, Abiola. Thank you very much for that explanation. So also to go further, I'd like you to give like a real life analogy or scenario of how, or just to explain further the concept of compounding.
Okay, so now let's just walk through that. Those two people that are investing. Now let's take an example of 1,000. Now, if you're investing 1,000 at 10%, and it is going for 5 years. Now, your yearly interest is at 100 naira, right? That means every year you earn 100 naira on that investment. In fact, you can even calculate the interest you earn for the entire tenure. That would be a total of 500, right? 100 naira year one, 100 naira year two, 100 naira year three, year four, and year five. So that's basically how the simple interest side works. But on the compound interest side, remember that we said we are going to be capitalizing that interest. So the interest you earn in year one, 100 naira, so that the principal you start with in year two is it's not just 1,000 naira again. It will then be 1,000 plus the initial interest in year one to be 1,100. Now, let's place that 1,100 in an investment in the security that earns you 10%. That means the interest in year two is not just going to be 100 naira, to be 110 naira. And you can see the difference between the simple interest case and the compound interest case, the 10 naira extra. That 10 naira extra is what we call interest on interest, because it is your 100 naira interest in year one that is earning you, has earned you that additional 10 naira. So the principal in year three would then be your 1,100 plus 1,110 naira. So it will be a total of 1,210. And you can see how that the growth you are going to be experiencing in your principal, which further drives the total returns you'll be earning on that investment. So place 1,210 at 10% again, you earn 121 naira. Remember, your simple interest guy is still locked in at 100 naira per annum. But now you've grown that your investment to 121. There's a 21 naira extra that you are earning every year that the other simple interest case is not earning. And you can quickly see, and that's when we talk about the benefit of time. Take this to year 15 or year 10, you see the huge gap between someone that is earning compound interest and the other person that is just earning simple interest. And basically that's how a real life scenario works. Give it time to show that huge difference between the two case, and also your interest also not just sits down, it earns further interest in the compound interest case. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abiola. Thank you very much. All right, for our audience, please, if you have questions as the webinar progresses, you can please drop them in the chat box. You can ask your questions in the chat box, or you wait till after the session and we can take a Q&A. But if you have questions as we move along, please drop them in the chat box. All right, thank you very much. Okay, so I'll be moving to our next speaker, Amin Mohammed. Speaking of time from Abiola's explanation, how do you think we can use time to maximize compounding interest?
Good afternoon, Nika. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for that introduction. To answer your question, right, the secret to building sustainable wealth and to maximize the power of compounding is simply time. The more time you have to invest or to let your investments compound, the more the returns you're going to get from those investments. So as Abiola explained, right, compound interest, when you invest using that, the returns, they grow exponentially. And the more time you have to allow them to grow, the more returns you would have at the end of the year. So it is vital to start as early as possible when it comes to compounding. To give you an example, somebody that compounds for a period of 20 to 25 years, compounds the same amount, will for somebody that compounds for 10 years on the same amount, the same interest rate, the person that compounded for the 20 years will have almost triple the returns the person that compounded for 10 years would have. So time is absolutely essential when it comes to compounding. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Amin. So would you say that, or what would you say is the impact of delaying your investments?
Well, when it comes to investments or investment making decisions, right, there are a number of factors that lead people to decide when to invest. So for somebody at the beginning of his career might not have the capital or large capital he feels he needs to invest, or while somebody at the latter end of his career might decide, okay, I've amassed this much amount of money, I am looking to invest that into something now, right? Investment decisions vary. However, it is absolutely vital if you want to maximize those returns to invest very early on, because like I mentioned earlier, the amount of time you invest those funds is going to matter a whole lot towards achieving your own objectives. So let me use numbers to illustrate my point, right? So a person, let's say, invests 100,000 every month from his salary at let's say 10% for a period of 30 years, right? That person is going to end up with a figure above 40, 45 million, right? But a person that, let's say, decides to wait till the end of his career to invest, let's say, 10 million naira for 10 years, is going to get at least 15 to 16 million less than what that person that has consistently been investing is going to get. So time is absolutely vital when it comes to compounding.
All right, thank you very much, Amin.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, so the best time to invest is always now. The next best time is the next time you can. So the power of compounding is quite remarkable, as Abiola said, the eighth wonder of the world.
Yes, it is. It's so remarkable. Thank you. So suppose we have two different investors. We have maybe a young graduate, a recent graduate that starts investing from 20 years old, and then an older investor at 40 years old. What do you think, or how do you think their investments would differ by the power of compounding?
Okay, so if the 20-year-old is disciplined and consistent, right, and is constantly reinvesting whatever returns he makes from his investment, then the 20-year-old has the advantage because he has over 20, 30 years before, let's say, retirement to compound his investments, while the person who is investing at the age of 40 might have a larger capital to invest, but like I mentioned, time is not enough for him to or him or her to get the returns that they might desire. So that's the thing, to maximize return, you have to start as early as possible. So the 20-year-old is clearly at a position to take advantage of maximizing compound interest.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Amin. So what do you think are the strategies that individuals can adopt to take advantage of long-term compounding, long-term investments?
The key strategies one can use, or I've started mentioning them. Discipline, consistency, absolutely important. Without them, there's no hope in actually taking advantage of the power of compounding. So discipline in the sense that whatever you invest those funds and you get the returns, don't get too excited to say, oh, I've made this much and start spending it. You need to reinvest whatever returns you get into more investments. That's how you actually take advantage of compounding. And then you have to be consistent. You don't say, okay, my salary came in this month, or I'm going to save so amount. Then next month I'm going to, wait. You have to be consistent. You have to find a balance. Some people use the 50-30-20 rule where they use 50% of their salary, 30% on some other things, and 20% on savings. You understand? Just have a formula that works for you as a person and ensure that those deposits into your investments or your savings are consistent. That's the only way you can achieve the power of compounding. Another strategy I use personally is delayed gratification. So we're all human, we're all going to have wants and needs and desires. And it is very easy to be impulsive and to just purchase whenever we have the purchasing power. But another important thing to do is to always ensure that whatever it is that you desire or you want, if it is not a priority, if it is not vital to survival, you understand, you should find a way to not deny yourself, but delay it, invest those funds, and maybe even use future funds for that. Just ensure that your investment account or investments are growing. Another advice is to ensure that you eliminate debt in your finances as much as possible. And then also to conduct a lot of research, seek information. There are investment instruments that are abound across everywhere. And just make sure you have your ears to the ground and be bold to take those opportunities when they come. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Amin. Thank you very much. So a key takeaway I have gotten from your explanation about maximizing time is there's never time is not too late to start. You can start when you were 20 and you can start now. The key is just to be consistent, right, Amin?
Yes, that is absolutely true. You have to take advantage of time and ensure that you invest ASAP. And these things are now very much easy to achieve. There are a lot of investment houses around, like AVA Global Asset Managers, where you don't actually have to have the knowledge, complete encyclopedic knowledge of the investment market. You can simply walk into these places and get experts to help you with it.
Yes, thank you. And we have the likes of AVA Global Asset Managers to help with your investment journey. All right, thank you very much, Amin. So we'll be moving on to strategies to maximizing compounding returns. Abiola, I have some questions for you. How do you think an individual can create a consistent investment plan to benefit from compounding interest?
All right, thank you, Adenike. Yeah, and also it's going to be extending from what Amin just spoke to us about discipline. But humans are, and there's a whole feed on behavioral finance in terms of how human reacts to market movement and the like. So also we have some of the most qualified portfolio managers on the call, and my colleagues at AVA Asset Managers. We'll try as much as possible to tailor investment to one, your risk appetite as an individual, and also your return expectation. So individuals have their goals that they come in with and say, hey, I want to achieve this by year 10. So from there, you can then reverse engineer and say how much do I need to save daily or monthly to achieve this goal, and this is what I'm going to save given my financial obligations and the rest. How much return should I seek to achieve that? So we can then find that sweet spot between the return that you are looking for as an individual and the risk appetite your risk capacity as an individual. So that sweet spot is where we can then make the advice to clients and say, this is what you should invest in. So and that is basically how you can then once that strategy is formed, right, then we can then follow that with so much discipline and then adjust for behavioral reactions to market as individuals, basically. So that's basically the strategy we use. First, identify yourself as an individual. What's your risk profile as a person? How much can I have a good night's sleep if I have 10% decline in my investment in a single day? Once you can set those kind of bars for yourself, then we can then look at what exactly is it that you want to achieve with your money, and then you can then say, okay, this kind of investment securities or vehicle will suit your peculiar need, given your risk appetite and also what you want to achieve by year 10. So basically, that's where we find that sweet spot, adjust for all of these variables before advising clients.
All right, thank you very much, Abiola. So from my understanding during this conversation, to enjoy the benefits of compounding, you have to reinvest your returns, reinvest your principal as well. So how does compounding amplify growth in someone's investment portfolio?
Okay, so basically this is how it works, right? You have a typical investment that earns you this amount of return every year. So once that return is paid to you, you have two options. Either take that return and then do that spend, just make that splurge, right? Or you could follow what Amin just said, delay gratification and plow back that return into another investment, even if it's not the exact investment that just give it that return. So you could have another, and that's why we have some of these experts in here that could advise you and say, I have earned this much on this particular asset, right? Should I put this return to acquire even much more of that same asset, or I should diversify? And that's basically what the portfolio manager will advise you on. Should I diversify so I can just limit my level of exposure to that same asset? So, but the key idea here is that you have to plow back that return in another interest generating asset, and it's doing that the base principal grows. And once the base principal is growing, then you could then layer on top of that the interest that you earn on those assets. So basically, it is you growing that principal. And how do you go to the principal means the initial return you earn from your initial investment should be plowed back into making more, even much more investment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abiola. So what factors do you think individuals should consider when setting up regular investments?
Okay, yeah, very important, right? And we have different classes of assets that you can invest in. So we'll just go through on a broader overview what you should consider. So let's say you are going to the fixed income space. So your fixed income space will be your bonds, your T-bills. In fact, sometimes now we have seen a lot of growth in the private credit space. Right? So on that side, in fact, why we call it fixed income is that at the point of entry into that investment, you already know what exactly is your return. So as an individual, as an investor in that space, what you should be looking at is avoiding the losers. So when they say avoid the losers, it means that because there's no upside in bond investment, you're going to earn 15%. What you are exposed to there is default risk. That means someone that promised you 15% does not just give you 50, will not come back with that 50%. You can lose principal and lose the interest. So you want to avoid such investment. So for a fixed income space, you want to diligently do your due diligence before you enter the investment so that you can avoid the losers, those guys that will not come back with your money, right? On the equity space, this is where you want to do what? You want to select the winners. And this can look like the same thing, but it's not the same thing. Avoiding losers different from selecting the winners. Selecting with the winners like the Tesla of this world, the Nvidia of this world. You want to look at those clients or those instruments that have the greatest, or given your risk profile, indeed the constraint of your risk profile anyway, this instrument that have the greatest potential for very outsized return, which is what will give you that kind of um, benefit as an equity investor. So we want to select winners on that side. Also, then when we look at then the alternative space, your real estate, your digital currencies, and the likes, you then want to do your due diligence in that space, because most of these investments are very unique. They are niche investments. So your kind of consideration in that space is that does this thing align with what I want as a goal? Consider the liquidity, consider the look at your real estate. So you want to purchase a commercial building in some space in Lagos. You want to be sure that um, those licenses are being added to. So you don't want to be there in 5 years' time and somebody is coming to take down the building. So due diligence is very important in the alternative space. And basically, that's how you look at each of these classes. Your consideration will differ, but then you have to just make the investment within the constraint of your risk appetite also. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Abiola. So you mentioned something about asset classes. So for an individual who is planning for retirement or making long-term financial plans, what specific asset classes do you think they can invest to enjoy the benefits of compounding?
Yes, thank you. And you need to also speak to a portfolio manager to actually assess your own personal circumstance before going ahead with this investment. However, so on the broader side, so you are getting close to your retirement. So you want to be sure. One thing you want to be looking at that point is the guaranteed returns. So in that kind of thing, you want to be looking at your fixed income. This fixed income will pay me 10%, right? So that I can have an understanding of how much I will earn and use that projection to then maybe cut my quote according to my size or whatever now. So I'm going to earn 100,000 coupon on this bond every 6 months. So maybe my living expenses should not outrun that 100,000. So you can quickly see that for someone that is near retirement with no other stream of income, you want to be heavy on the fixed income side. Now, if you look at someone that's just, you are early in your career, you are just accumulating your wealth, now you are here to actually want outside return. Maybe even if some of these investments should go bad, you still have your daily income or your daily job that can still give you that can sustain your livelihood or your living expenses. So on that side, you want to be you want to be heavy on the equity side, which where you have, remember I said on the fixed income side, your upside is capped. That's why you want to avoid the losers, people that will not pay you back your principal and your interest on the fixed income space. But on the equity side, the upside is not capped. For a young person, that's where you want to be heavy on, because that's where you can earn this. Some stocks, even in Nigeria last year, did on 90-something%. And that's the sweet spot for someone that is just starting to accumulate wealth. But you have to do your due diligence. A lot of people have burned their hands, and also given that you still have your daily job that can sustain your livelihood, even if those investments are not coming back, are not coming back or are not performing as expected, you can still have some other places to give you succor or sustain your livelihood. So you look at the breadth of the investment. You want to be heavy on one side, given your life circumstance, and also given your how patient you are to realizing these returns.
Thank you very much, Abiola. Thank you very much. So I'd like to ask another question. So what do you think is the role of compounding in different investment vehicles, such as you mentioned fixed income, you mentioned stocks, you mentioned bonds and mutual funds? Like, how do they differ? How do they vary? And how do you think we can maximize either of these options?
Okay, so let's look at some of these assets specifically now. So let's say your bond, a typical bond will pay you coupon every 6 months, right? How can you tap into compounding that space? Anytime they pay you coupon by the 6th or your annual coupon, you take that coupon and even buy more bonds, right? So you take that return and buy even more, some fixed income mutual funds, some bonds, some T-bills. So you actually the amount of fixed income you have in your portfolio is expanding. And when all of this also is paying, and they are all paying coupons, you can then see that return or the interest will then be growing. So it is you saying that the coupon I earn on this space, I plow it back to even purchase more securities in that fixed income. So let's look at on the equity side. You are just holding shares. The return for shareholders are dividends, right? So when they pay you that cash dividend at the end of the year, when the company declares dividends, and even it's even better for you in terms of tax consideration. So I just don't take that dividend out as cash, because when you realize those dividends, the FRS guys will come back and say you should pay your income tax on those earnings, right? But if what I've done is to take those dividends and use to purchase even much shares, right? So let's say before I own 100 shares of the company X, which pays 10 naira total dividend at the end of the year. Then what I would do is to take that 10 naira to buy even more shares, even if it will be two shares, right? So that by me entering the year two, I don't just own only 100 shares. I now own 100 plus the two that I've bought with their dividend that they've paid me. So quickly, you can see how if they are still paying the dividend they will pay me in the year two now will be based on 102 shares. And you can see that's basically compounding in that space on the equity side. And if we go to the alternatives and say a real estate business, you own a particular real estate that's paying you rental income. Maybe a single year's rental income cannot purchase a new building, right? And that's where you have the expertise of the portfolio managers come in and say, okay, the rental income I've earned in year one, I can't use to purchase another building. But could then find a portfolio that is, or a vehicle that is going to be accumulating this cash until it is enough to buy a new house to add to my real estate portfolio. So they take that money, put it in a high yielding security for you, probably purchase some fixed income funds, some bonds, or some shares for you, so that by year two or year three, when the amount in that portfolio is sizable enough to add to your real estate portfolio, you can then go ahead and purchase another building for you. So basically, that's what you consider for each of these asset classes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abiola. Thank you very much. So for the purpose of the audience, please, if you have questions, kindly drop them in the chat box. We can take the questions as we go, or we wait till the end of the sessions to take the questions. Thank you. All right, Amin, I'm back to you. Can you please highlight notable investment strategies that people can key in to begin their compounding journey?
Sure, I can. But first, I would like to discuss the factors that will influence that decision, or what strategy you want to use to actually compound. So first thing that most of us will look at when we're trying to invest is how much money we actually have on ground, the capital to use to invest. That will actually affect the instruments or the investment vehicles that we're looking at. Another thing will be our career position. So if I'm starting my career 20, 21 year old, 22, the kind of instruments I'll be looking at will be different than somebody, let's say, that is in his late 30s, has been working for 10, 15 years. They tend to have more capital to invest. Right. Then another thing is risk appetite. Am I a person that likes to take as much risk as possible? Do I like to play it safe with the market? Those are all questions that you need to ask yourself when you're looking at investment options. Then another thing is investment objectives. So what I mean by that is, let's say now you're looking at the future and you're like, by the time I retire, I want to be able to go to Monaco. I want to be able to, or if I just want enough to live in my farm in Badagry, you understand? So that would let you know, okay, if I need 200 million naira in the future to actually live that kind of life, how much do I need to invest now and compound it so that when I get to that position, I collect my returns and live the life I've set for myself. So those are things that you have to consider when choosing the investment vehicles. Now, in terms of the investment vehicles, Abiola has mentioned a lot of them. You know, the basic one in Nigeria is savings account. Of course, but I think we all have savings account, but the limitation is the fact that the rates are very low and then there's limits, so you can't withdraw a certain amount of times and so on and so forth. So it's not really, and you know, it doesn't aid discipline because you have access to it. You can easily transfer from it and all that. So it doesn't aid discipline and consistency. So you might look at other vehicles such as money market instruments, which refers to stocks, you know, mutual funds. You can look at not earn interest in like most Muslims, for example. You can look at sukuks, which are available, so you're not left out from the compounding opportunities. There are also companies that maintain trusts that you can invest into. It all depends on the amount of research you're willing to do, and whether you're and your own objectives, like I mentioned before. So thank you very much. I hope that answers the question.
Yes, thank you very much, Amin. Thank you very much for your contribution and this conversation. So, Amin, I have another question for you. So while discussing compounding interests, I believe some people have misconceptions about compound interest. And one prevalent one is that small contributions don't matter. They are not significant to your investment.
So I've actually heard that one quite a lot. You know, everywhere we go, you know, we try to sell the gospel of investment, and people tell you that, oh no, the money I have in my account is not that much. At least I just want to live my life, and when I have more, I would look at investment options. But the mistake with that is you are missing out on the opportunity to compound one, because time is going. Because the best time to invest is now, to take advantage of the power of compounding, right? So if you don't invest even the little that you have, you won't take advantage of that power. And I gave an example earlier. Somebody investing a sum of, let me even use a smaller amount, let's say 50,000 every month, right? For a period of 20 years, is going to get triple the returns of somebody that, let's say, invests a millionaire every year for 10 years. That shows you that 50K will get consistently over a period of a long time, will get you a whole lot more than investing a bulk sum, you know, for a short period of time. So it's something that you have to look at, and a culture that you have to develop within yourself to ensure that you know, not just saving that we're facing in the current climate. We're talking about inflation rates above 30%. So even if you save your money, it's literally losing value in account. So it has to be working. It has to be getting you a return of some kind. So no amount is too small. That is an absolute misconception and a mistake to make. Thank you, Mika.
Thank you very much, Amin. Thank you very much. So there's another question here. It says, if I decide to only reinvest my principal of 1 million and go away with my interest, does that still count as compounding?
No, that's simple interest. So if you invest 1 million naira, let me use a simple rate of 10% per annum. Let's say at the end of the year you make 100,000. Then you take your 100,000 and put back the 1 million. Next year you're still going to make 100,000. But if you put back the 100,000 to 1.1 million, you reinvest 1.1 million at 10%. Next year you're going to make 110,000, which now takes your total capital from, instead of just 1.1 million to 1. 1.12 million. That's 1,120,000, right? No, sorry, 140,000. Pardon my maths. So you see, if you're just investing the same amount consistently over time, it's not bad, is good, right? But you're not maximizing the power of compounding. For you to actually do that, you have to delay gratification and put the money back in and watch it grow exponentially.
All right, thank you very much, Amin. Thank you very much for that explanation. Okay, Abiola, I have a question for you here. It says, can I start investing with 20,000? And which investment would you advise?
All right. Yes, so you can. The simple answer is yes. And it goes beyond just how much you are saving. It is the culture you are building, right? That culture that consciousness you are building in yourself, that this amount should be kept away as a nest egg, and also for opportunity to take. And the question that follows up is, what is the instrument I can do? It is where you come to the mutual funds. You have the AVA fixed income fund, the entry, because the way they structure those instruments or those vehicles, you can enter as low as 10,000 naira. Right? And so you have that money market fund, you have the fixed income fund that you can actually invest this money in. And you know what I talk about, the guy that is into real estate. Even though the rental income for at the end of year one cannot buy a new building or deco, right? But what he has done is to keep that money in a fixed income fund and grow it under 2 or 3 years so that he can actually purchase a new building. And that's what I'm going to be doing for a 20K person. So come with 20K, put it in the mutual fund, another 20K, so that let's say after 10 instances of this, you have 500,000 and maybe another 20 or 25,000 naira as interest on that money. So with your 525, maybe you cannot then say, I want to venture and buy a secondary market T-bills. You can see how much you have moved from just doing money market fund to now doing T-bills. And based on that, you could then do that turn that over maybe 3 times, then go and do a bond. So that's really where you are going to. You are building the culture, the self-discipline yourself, that consciousness of saving, and also you are consciously putting an instrument that will allow you to have very low barrier to entry, your money market fund, and then you go to doing bond, to doing equities, because you're actually consciously doing this, following these steps as a person. So 20K is good. We love to have you. AVA fixed income fund, our money market fund. We love to have that.
Thank you, Abiola. Thank you. So there's another question here. Amin, I'll pass the question to you. As a retiree, what's the safest investment I can make for my children?
Okay, for those kind of investments, honestly, the kind of advice I've given people in the past is to set up trusts. When you watch American movies and you hear trust fund babies, and you can make your children trust fund babies too by setting up trusts with them. And the trust will have different purposes. It can have different purposes. So you can have an education trust where I will invest a certain amount of money and the returns from that will be used to take care of my child's education. You don't have to get to the point of a retiree to actually do that. You can actually save into those trusts, and you ensure that you don't know where life takes us or what life is going to have for us at the current corner. So it's always good to have those kind of things to ensure that your kids' education is always going to be taken care of. Then, of course, the trust, when they come, the trust itself will be invested into different types of instruments, a portfolio basically to ensure that you maximize your returns. And then those returns will be handed over to the children when they're of age. And that is the best way I feel like a parent can show love to his children financially. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for that response. So for the purpose of our audience, if you want to set up a trust, I mentioned earlier that we have a group called AVA Capital Group. We also have a trusteeship company that can assist you in opening up a trust if you'd like that. All right, so thank you very much, our guest speakers, Abiola and Amin. I just have a final question for you both. If you have any final addition you'd want to add, or you want to enlighten us more that I have not asked you already. So Abiola, we can start with you, and then Amin next.
All right, thank you, Adenike. Like my opening word, it says that this is eighth wonder of the world, and those who understand it, they earn it, and if you don't understand it, you actually be on the other side of this divide. It's not This is not where you want to do passively. You know, you want to be conscious around it. And I like the question around the 20,000 thing. No amount is so little. Like I mean, said, the best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The next best time is right today. Right. And we'll be open to have those conversations with you, and also tailor those investments with your own peculiarities, right? It goes beyond how much you are saving, and it's you are speaking to the culture you are building, the consciousness you are building. And you also find out that the more you are doing this, the more opportunities you see. Because basically what you have done, you are training your mind to see opportunities. Okay, if what I want to do is to practically be buying fixed bonds and fixed income securities over the next 5 years, right? It is because you are consciously set this goal for yourself. Your mind will start. You are training your mind to pick up those instruments and they fly around with the market. So start seeing instruments that are giving you 35%, commercial paper that are giving you 33%. Based on that, you can then make conscious decisions, because your mind will start seeing this opportunity because you have consciously made a decision that this is what I want to do as a strategy for my investment for the next couple of years. So take that bold step, start today. You missed the 10 years ago, but you want to start today and go ahead with it. Surely the sky is the starting point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Abiola. Thank you very much. So, Amin, do you have any further additions to this conversation?
Well, for me, it's just to reiterate, right, and almost repeat, a very salient point that was made earlier, right? Investment, or the power of or using compound interest to increase your wealth, is one of the easiest ways you can insulate yourself from the realities of, or protect yourself from the economic climate and the changes that will occur. Where I always like to bring it back home, right? Where in Nigeria, and things are always not unstable, but can turn, with FX and all those things. If you have investments that are steadily growing, you literally protect your yourself financially from all these factors. So it's very important, not just for growing of wealth, but also to ensure that you always have stability, some form of stability in your life in an otherwise unstable environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amin. Thank you, Amin. Thank you, Abiola. Please, if you have further questions for the guest speakers, you can still drop them in the chat box. We'll just give a few minutes for the questions. If you have any further questions, if you have any clarifications, you can send your messages to the chat box. All right, thank you very much. And I believe the audience have as well that common investment, be aware of time. Now, no time is too late to invest. No time is too late to make your investments. You can start now. You can start anytime you are ready. However, to enjoy the benefits of compounding, you need to be consistent and make regular investments to your portfolio. All right, thank you very much. I see no further question in the chat box. So I believe the audience are good with the webinar, no questions. Thank you very much once again. I'd like to say a very big thank you to Amin Mohammed and Abdullah Hamid for joining this webinar, being our guest speakers. We're very grateful. Thank you to the audience. You've been an amazing and engaging audience. Thank you very much. So for the audience, if you have further questions or inquiries, if you want to know how to get started on your investment, please do follow us on all our social media platforms at AVA Capital Group on Instagram and on X. You can also send us an email at investadvisor@AVA Capital Group. Send us an email, call us, ask us questions. We'll definitely be there and willing to answer all your questions and guide you through your investment journey. Thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in to this webinar today, and we hope to see you on our upcoming webinars. Thank you very much, everyone. My name is Adeleke Balogun. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Nika.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Friday.
Thank you all. Thanks.
Thank you, Christian.
Thank you all. Thank you all.